Chapter 01 The Fentanyl Crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens, today, we gather to confront one of the gravest threats facing our nation in the 21st century, the fentanyl crisis. This is not a distant problem, nor a challenge confined to dark alleys and broken communities. It is here, in our neighborhoods, in our schools, in our families. It is the silent killer that has claimed more American lives each year than any foreign war in recent memory. Fentanyl is not just another drug. It is 50 times stronger than heroin, 100 times stronger than morphine. A dose the size of a few grains of salt can mean the difference between life and death. This poison, manufactured and trafficked across our borders, has turned from a smuggling problem into a full-scale national emergency. This crisis is not only about numbers, though the numbers are staggering. More than 100,000 American lives are lost each year to drug overdoses, with fentanyl leading the charge. It is about broken families, about children growing up without parents, about parents burying their children far too soon. It is about the erosion of the American dream at its most human level. Make no mistake, fentanyl is not just a public health issue. It is a national security issue. It is a moral issue. And it is a test of our political will. For behind this epidemic lie complex networks of organized crime, international supply chains, and yes, foreign actors who benefit from our nation's suffering. The question before us is clear: will we, the people of the United States, allow this silent war to continue unchecked, or will we rise to meet it with the strength, unity, and resolve that defines us? This is the crisis of our time. This is the battlefield of our generation. And how we respond will shape not only the fate of this nation, but the moral fabric of America itself. Chapter 02 America at a Crossroads. My fellow Americans, we stand today at a historic crossroads. Our nation has faced crises before: wars abroad, depressions at home, threats both foreign and domestic. Yet the fentanyl epidemic is unique, for it strikes not on distant battlefields but within our own communities, our own homes, our own hearts. Every great nation is tested not only by the enemies it can see, but by the poisons it allows to seep silently into its veins. Fentanyl is that poison. And our response, or our failure to respond, will define the direction of America for decades to come. Let us be clear, we are not merely fighting against a chemical compound. We are fighting for the soul of this nation. We are fighting for our children, who deserve to inherit a land of opportunity, not one clouded by addiction and despair. We are fighting for the integrity of our justice system, which must pursue traffickers and cartels with the full weight of the law. We are fighting for the future of our economy, for no nation can remain strong if its people are weakened by dependency. At this crossroads, there are two paths before us. One is the path of complacency, where we continue to treat this crisis as someone else's problem, a tragedy we shake our heads at but do not confront. The other is the path of courage, where we unite across party lines, across state borders, across divisions of class and creed, to say with one voice, enough. The choice is ours, and the hour is late. History will not remember our excuses, it will remember our actions. Will we, the United States of America, rise to meet this moment? Or will we falter, and allow the slow erosion of our strength from within? This, my fellow citizens, is America at a crossroads. Chapter 03 The Human Cost. My fellow Americans, behind every statistic in this crisis lies a human story. Numbers can numb us, but stories break through. The fentanyl epidemic is not abstract, it is deeply personal. It is the mother in Ohio who finds her teenage son unresponsive. It is the father in Texas working 2 jobs, only to lose his daughter to a counterfeit pill. It is the grandmother in West Virginia now raising her grandchildren because both parents were taken too soon. These are not isolated tragedies. They are a national wound. Each overdose ripples outward, a family torn apart, a community shaken, a school missing a student, a workplace missing a colleague. It is a chain reaction of loss, grief, and despair. The human cost cannot be measured in morgues alone. It is seen in the empty chairs at Thanksgiving tables, in the children who grow up without guidance, in the neighbors who no longer trust their streets. It is the corrosion of hope, the quiet erosion of the American spirit. And let us speak plainly, the victims are not only the users. They are the first responders who carry the weight of trauma call after call. They are the teachers who try to hold together classrooms while burying their students. They are the churches, the community centers, the small-town leaders stretched thin as they try to heal wounds too large for one town to bear. This epidemic is a thief. It robs us of our people, our peace, and our promise. If we are to address it, we must see clearly that this is not merely a health crisis, not merely a criminal crisis. It is a human crisis measured in lives, in dignity, in the future of our nation. Chapter 04: Families Under Siege. My fellow citizens, if the foundation of our nation is the American family, then the fentanyl crisis is striking at the very heart of that foundation. Every overdose, every lost son or daughter, is not just a personal tragedy, it is an attack on the bedrock of our society. Families are the first line of defense in shaping character, instilling values, and nurturing the next generation. But what happens when those families are torn apart by addiction? Parents burying their children. Children growing up without mothers or fathers. Brothers and sisters caught in cycles of grief, guilt, and silence. The family, once the strongest shield against despair, becomes the battlefield itself. This siege does not discriminate. It crosses income, geography, race, and politics. From small towns in Appalachia to bustling cities on the West Coast, no community is immune. And when families crumble, communities weaken. Schools struggle. Churches strain. Neighborhoods lose their sense of safety. The threads that bind us together begin to fray. The fentanyl epidemic is not only robbing lives, it is robbing legacies. Grandparents forced into roles they never imagined, raising children while mourning their own. Siblings stepping into the shoes of parents long before their time. The ripple effect is generational, reshaping the American family in ways both visible and invisible. Let us be clear, this is not just a matter for social workers or doctors. It is a matter for every leader, every policymaker, every citizen who believes in the promise of America. Because when families fall, the nation falters. And when families are restored, the nation is renewed. To confront the fentanyl crisis, we must not only save lives, we must save families. For it is in the strength of our families that the future of America is written. Chapter 05: Communities in Decline. My fellow Americans, when families fall, communities feel the shockwaves. The fentanyl epidemic is not only claiming lives, it is reshaping entire towns, neighborhoods, and cities. The strength of America has always rested in the resilience of its communities. Yet today, those very communities are under siege. Walk through the streets of once thriving small towns, and you will see the scars: empty storefronts, schools struggling to keep attendance, churches burdened with funerals instead of celebrations. In cities, shelters overflow, first responders burn out, and public spaces become battlegrounds of despair. This is not the America we were promised. This is not the America we should accept. The decline is not only material, it is moral. Neighbors withdraw behind closed doors, afraid of what addiction brings to their block. Trust erodes, civic participation dwindles, and the very idea of community, the shared belief that we are stronger together, begins to fracture. This erosion is slow, but it is relentless, and left unchecked, it threatens the democratic spirit of our nation. And yet, in the midst of this decline, we see sparks of resistance. Local leaders, teachers, pastors, and volunteers refusing to give up. Communities forming task forces, parents sharing their grief so that others may be spared, young people rising to leadership far sooner than they imagined. These sparks remind us of a truth we cannot forget: while fentanyl is powerful, the American spirit, when united, is stronger. But unity does not come by accident, it must be forged. It must be led. It must be demanded. And it must be supported by national policies that give local communities the resources they need to fight back. For no town, no city, no county can stand alone against a crisis of this magnitude. The question before us is not whether communities can survive this epidemic, but whether we, as a nation, will give them the tools to thrive again. America cannot remain strong if its communities wither. To restore the nation, we must restore the places where American life begins: our neighborhoods, our towns, our communities. Chapter 06: The Erosion of Hope. My fellow citizens, perhaps the greatest casualty of the fentanyl crisis is not only the loss of lives, but the loss of hope. Hope has always been America's most powerful resource. It is what drove pioneers westward, immigrants across oceans, and dreamers into the skies. But today, in too many places, hope is fading. Talk to a high school student in a struggling town, and you may hear resignation: everyone here ends up addicted. Speak with a parent who has buried a child, and you may hear the quiet surrender of someone who feels the future has already been stolen. Visit a community with boarded-up factories and overwhelmed clinics, and you will see the hollow look of people who no longer believe tomorrow can be better than today. This erosion of hope is as dangerous as the drug itself. For when hope dies, ambition dies. When hope dies, trust in institutions dies. When hope dies, the very glue of democracy begins to crumble. A nation without hope is a nation vulnerable to fear, division, and decline. And let us be clear: this erosion is not accidental. It is the calculated outcome of cartels that profit from despair, of traffickers who exploit vulnerability, and of foreign powers who look upon America's struggles with satisfaction. Every overdose is not only a tragedy, it is a strike against the spirit of America. But America has been here before. In times of war, in times of depression, in times of civil unrest, we have been told to give up. And each time, we chose instead to rise. Hope was not given to us, we fought for it, we defended it, we passed it on to our children. The fentanyl epidemic is a test of whether we will do so again. Will we surrender to despair, or will we reclaim hope as the birthright of every American? The answer to that question will decide not just how many lives we save, but what kind of nation we remain. Chapter 07: The Strain on Mental Health. My fellow Americans, no crisis of this magnitude leaves the mind untouched. The fentanyl epidemic is not only a war on the body, it is a war on the spirit, on the very mental health of our people. Behind every overdose lay countless silent struggles: depression, trauma, anxiety, and despair. These wounds are invisible, but they are no less real. Our first responders carry them. Police officers, paramedics, firefighters, day after day, they walk into scenes of devastation. They revive the same individuals multiple times, only to return again. They see lives cut short, families broken, futures erased. The weight of that trauma does not simply vanish when the shift ends. It lingers, it haunts, and too often, it breaks them. Our teachers carry them. In classrooms across America, educators are not just teaching math or history, they are navigating grief. Empty desks remind them of students lost. Distracted children bear the scars of addiction in their homes. Teachers are asked to be counselors, mentors, protectors, roles they embrace but cannot sustain alone. Our healthcare workers carry them. Nurses and doctors watch as patients arrive too late, or return again and again. They patch wounds but cannot heal the despair that fuels them. They are stretched to the breaking point, not only by the physical toll but by the emotional one. And let us not forget the families. The mothers who do not sleep, waiting for a knock at the door. The siblings who live in the shadow of addiction. The children who grow up believing chaos is normal. This is trauma passed from one generation to the next. The fentanyl epidemic is a mental health crisis as much as it is a drug crisis. And if we fail to treat the mind as urgently as we treat the body, we will never truly break free. America must commit not only to saving lives, but to restoring spirits. For a nation cannot stand strong when its people are silently broken within. Chapter 08: The Role of Crime and Cartels. My fellow citizens, let us speak plainly, the fentanyl epidemic is not an accident. It is not merely the byproduct of addiction. It is a business, cold, calculated, and ruthless. And behind this business stand powerful criminal networks and international cartels who see profit in American pain. These cartels do not care about life. They do not care about families, about communities, about the nation they poison. They care only for money. They exploit our borders, they exploit our technologies, they exploit every weakness in our system to flood our streets with a product more deadly than any weapon they could smuggle. But make no mistake, this is not just about street dealers and local gangs. This is about sophisticated networks that span continents. From chemical suppliers abroad to traffickers at the border to distributors in our neighborhoods, every overdose in America traces back to a chain of greed and corruption that stretches far beyond our shores. And yes, there are foreign actors who benefit from this trade. Nations that turn a blind eye to the export of precursor chemicals. Governments that refuse to cooperate in dismantling these supply chains. Some even see America's suffering as a strategic advantage. That, my friends, is not commerce, it is warfare by another name. If we are to confront this crisis, we must treat it as the war that it is. Law enforcement must be empowered. Intelligence must be sharpened. International diplomacy must be leveraged. And above all, America must show the world that we will not sit idle while foreign cartels wage a chemical war on our people. This is not just a fight against crime, it is a fight for sovereignty, for security, for the right of the American people to live free from poison and fear. Chapter 09: The Fight for Solutions. My fellow Americans, we have laid bare the damage. We have named the enemy. Now we must act, and act with urgency, clarity, and unity. The fight against fentanyl will not be won by slogans or half measures. It will be won by a comprehensive, determined national effort that mobilizes every tool at our disposal: law enforcement, public health, diplomacy, community power, and moral leadership. First, we must secure our borders. Smugglers and cartels exploit gaps in enforcement and the flow of precursor chemicals. Border security is not a partisan talking point, it is a matter of national survival when foreign-produced substances are killing our children. Smart, targeted resources for customs, border patrol, and interagency intelligence are essential. But security alone is not enough. Second, we must dismantle the supply chain. That means international diplomacy and pressure on foreign suppliers of precursor chemicals, combined with aggressive transnational law enforcement cooperation. It means sanctions where appropriate, multilateral investigations, and an uncompromising stance against countries or actors that allow chemical exports to flow unchecked. The world must know that enabling this trade is enabling modern-day slaughter. Third, we must hold corporate actors accountable. The overdose crisis would not have reached this scale without market mechanisms, legal prescriptions, shady distributors, and profit-driven decisions that widen access to addictive opioids. We will enforce transparency, strengthen regulation, pursue civil accountability, and ensure that no corporation treats human life as a line item on a balance sheet. Fourth, we must expand treatment and harm reduction at scale. Prevention matters, but so does compassion. Medication-assisted therapy, widely distributed naloxone, community-based recovery programs, and support for mental health services are not optional, they are life-saving necessities. We will fund treatment programs, make them accessible in rural and urban areas alike, and remove bureaucratic barriers that stand between a person and care. Fifth, we must invest in prevention and education. Schools, faith organizations, and civic institutions must be partners. Comprehensive education programs that speak frankly to youth, parental support networks, job training, and economic opportunity are the long-term vaccines against addiction. Opportunity removes the demand that traffickers exploit. Sixth, we must strengthen communities. Federal policy must empower local leaders, mayors, sheriffs, pastors, teachers, to tailor responses that work on the ground. Grants, technical support, rapid response teams, and sustained funding will let communities innovate and heal. The government's role is to enable, not to dictate, local resilience. Seventh, we must reform criminal justice to be smart and just. Prosecution should focus on kingpins and networks, not on low-level users who need treatment. Drug courts, diversion programs, and re-entry services reduce recidivism and restore lives. They protect communities and promote public safety better than incarceration alone. Finally, leadership matters. This moment requires bipartisan moral clarity. It requires elected officials who will put country above career, who will speak plainly to the American people about pain and policy, who will invest now so that future generations inherit safety instead of sorrow. The fight for solutions is not theoretical. It demands budgets, agencies that coordinate, international pressure, and a moral renewal that says, the lives of our citizens matter more than profit, politics, or indifference. Let this be the generation that turned the tide. Let our answer be not words, but a plan of action, fully funded, faithfully executed, and sustained until the last overdose is prevented and the last family healed.